Dr. Andrew Huberman delves into deep discussions about goal settings and achieving these goals backed by neuroscience. To summarize, he highlights the importance of setting one priority or goal at a time, as opposed to trying to achieve numerous goals simultaneously. This approach lessens the chance of failure, as people can then focus their energies and resources towards the achievement of one singular goal. Dr. Huberman brings to the forefront a surprising but essential point that choosing easy-to-achieve goals can become counterproductive. Neuroscience says that to learn something new, one has to shift their nervous system into a state of discomfort. Selecting excessively easy goals does not provide enough stimulation or discomfort to activate the arousal network, which is required for learning and goal realization. He explains that successful goal pursuit typically revolves around a 4-part neural circuitry consisting of the amygdala, basal ganglia, lateral prefrontal cortex, and the orbital frontal cortex. These structures work together to facilitate goal setting and pursuit. The amygdala regulates arousal and alertness. The basal ganglia initiates or withholds action. The lateral prefrontal cortex manages immediate and long-term planning. And the orbital frontal cortex evaluates emotional states and progress within goal pursuit. This combination of neuroscience and practical steps results in a potent toolkit for setting and achieving goals. For instance, Dr. Huberman suggests that during the goal selection process, one should make the conscious effort to choose a goal that is loftier or more challenging than a more mundane one. He argues that this encourages a state of mild discomfort that enhances learning and growth due to induced neuroplasticity. Additionally, he underscores that these seemingly negative states, like anxiety and frustration, are the gateway to neuroplastic changes and should be embraced. Understanding that these feelings are part of the process helps reduce related stress and maintain focus on the goal. Importantly, these protocols for setting and achieving goals must be customized for each individual, reflecting their personal values, motivations, current circumstances, and available resources. In essence, success in goal pursuit depends heavily on the meticulous selection of a practicable goal, understanding the required level of progress or performance, and being willing to endure associated discomforts during the progress. Dr. Huberman sets forth that one must define their priority goal and add specificity to it to get closer to achieving it. The key lies in defining the verb actions involved in achieving the goal and assigning an amount of time to engage in these verbs each week. This process may seem time-consuming, but it significantly enhances the chances of achieving one's objectives. The neuroscience perspective on goal pursuit redirects the spotlight on specificity and measurability that keep surfacing in most goal-setting strategies. The essence of setting a specific goal, defining the verbs, actions involved in pursuing that goal, and determining how long to engage in those actions each week, early studies reveal, are vital determinants to success. In a bid to dispel popular myths about goal setting, Dr. Huberman debunks the post-it fallacy, stating that visual reminders such as notes on the mirror do not increase the probability of achieving the goal. This is due to the visual system adapting and eventually overlooking regularly placed items in our environment. The best way to incorporate visual reminders is to update them each day and change their locations. He also discusses the myth of accountability, which goes against the common belief that announcing one's goals to others increases motivation. Science contradicts this claim, asserting that positive feedback from such announcements often activates certain reward systems in the brain that quickly dissipate and subsequently reduce the likelihood of achieving the goal. The takeaway here is not to share your new goal with others before initiating any concrete action towards it, to avoid prematurely activating the reward circuitry in your brain, which might, in turn, decrease your further involvement in goal-based activities. In the case of setting a goal to achieve fitness through running, for instance, you'd define the priority goal, which could be running X number of miles per week. You'd also want to get very specific by deciding something like running 3 times per week for a minimum of 60 minutes, with 50 minutes of that comprising hard work. Now, you've both defined your goal and set a clear, measurable commitment for its achievement. Dr. Huberman emphasizes how crucial this process of setting specificity and measuring it against time and effort is for successful goal setting and achievement. Making this method a part of your protocol for goal setting significantly increases the probability that you will reach and possibly exceed your aspirations. The power of this technique is that it can apply to a broad range of goal types, from learning languages to improving fitness to mastering a new skill. Dr. Huberman further delves into the concept of the "don't tell the world" rule. This notion emphasizes that stating your intentions can lead to premature feelings of accomplishment, hence decreasing actual pursuits toward the goal. As an alternative, he suggests maintaining the goal within your own mind and to spend time with the clearly defined goal written down on a piece of paper. This sets a higher probability of accomplishing the goal. This idea opposes the commonly referred accountability myth, where individuals believe having a witness to their goals will force them to stay committed. Dr. Huberman suggests it's more constructive to designate a trusted individual who can provide tough love accountability. This should be someone who reminds you of your commitments and asks if you have completed your set tasks. Dr. Huberman also emphasizes on aligning the efforts with the desire to attain a specific goal rather than proving someone wrong. This idea fosters intrinsic motivation, which is attached directly to the task at hand, leading to the goal's most sustainable source of motivation. He further discusses the importance of goal measurability and suggests defining two things. Firstly, the timeline to attain the goal, and secondly, the time one plans to spend on the goal each day or week. A 12-week duration tends to align effectively with societal schedules and seasons, and is recommended to be broken into daily and weekly hour commitments. This forms a framework for achieving 90% of different types of goals. Each goal, specific actions towards them, and accompanying timeframes should be written for maximum reinforcement and increased probability of goal achievement. Quantifying the goal is of prime importance. Athletic or finance-based goals are relatively quantifiable, such as setting an aim to run a mile under specific time. However, other goals like learning conversational French or writing poetry could be more loosely defined. For less quantifiable goals, the amount of time spent towards achieving them becomes crucial. All actions are quantifiable in terms of the time dedicated to these activities. Dr. Huberman wraps this section by reminding the audience that achieving any intention boils down to understanding specific actions, quantifying time to engage in them, and executing these actions. He then transitions the discussion to goal pursuit, focusing on the question whether one is driven or resistant towards a particular intention, which dramatically influences the strategy to use. In this part of the Huberman Lab Podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman explains how understanding our personal motivations and using visualization techniques can effectively influence goal attainment. He begins by encouraging listeners to question their desire to achieve their goal as well as their willingness to engage in required actions. This introspective approach can help determine the level of one's commitment and undeniably affect a goal's success. He introduces a significant strategy related to visualization. When you feel motivated to work towards your goal, spend a few minutes visualizing the positive outcomes of accomplishing it. However, if an individual is having trouble motivating themselves, he revels that research suggests visualizing the negative consequences of failure can actually be more effective. Drawing upon scientific literature, Dr. Huberman advises listeners to visualize failure for a few minutes when they are struggling with motivation. By imagining the negative emotions and consequences of not achieving the set goal, it can fuel a fear of failure, which can serve as a potent motivational tool. Dr. Huberman also examines the role of focus in goal pursuit. He recommends setting an optimal amount of focus during goal pursuit and suggests tools that can help maintain such focus, such as visualization techniques. For example, narrowing your visual attention to a specific task can increase your overall alertness level, thereby helping sustain motivation. And conversely, relaxing your visual attention can decrease alertness levels and lower stimulation, which might be useful in different contexts. Moreover, he suggests the distance towards the visual target can be adjusted depending on the goal that needs to be achieved. If you're doing desk work, you can direct your visual target onto a close piece of paper, while if you're partaking in sports, the visual target may be several meters away. In conclusion, Dr. Huberman affirms that motivation can be effectively managed and increased through introspection, visualization, and focus techniques. These scientifically backed strategies enable individuals to channel their attention and energy more productively towards attaining personal goals. In this segment of the Huberman Lab Podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman explores the connection between our visual focus and cognitive engagement. He details the perceptible effects that come into action when we focus on a particular visual point for an extended period, like raising systolic blood pressure, liberating molecules like dopamine, and recruiting neurochemicals from the brainstem. He indicates this could be physical or cognitive work, and that this technique significantly decreases the level of perceived effort and completes the work in a reduced amount of time. Dr. Huberman provides a practical perspective on how to use these techniques in work or learning environments, suggesting even small increments like 30-second visual focus exercises before leaning back into your process can greatly enhance productivity. An example he gives is to focus on the camera lens when filming for a podcast or social media, citing it's a practice he's been using for over a decade. Yet it's also vital to remember to relax your eyes from time to time, switching to the panoramic vision mode, allowing our brain to rest and thus prevent fatigue. Alongside this, maintaining good sleep, nutrition, social connections, and limits on stress factors all contribute to improving not only our cognitive focus and physical ability, but also our general well-being. A surprising aspect Dr. Huberman brings up is the dopamine reward and motivation pathway. Understanding and properly utilizing this pathway can lead to a sustained increase in motivation. He suggests to incorporate a behavior specialist called random intermittent reinforcement, where you randomly reward yourself after achieving milestones, keeping the motivation level high and steady. He also explores the negative impact of devices on productivity, suggesting people should aim to remove potential distractions such as smartphones, at least for the duration of the task at hand. Turning off push notifications, putting the phone on airplane mode, or moving it to another room are simple yet effective ways to reduce distractions. In addition to these techniques, Dr. Huberman discusses the importance of positive reinforcement, but with a unique twist. Instead of consistently rewarding ourselves every time we achieve a milestone or a goal, he suggests introducing randomness into this process. This is akin to a random reward system, where the probability of rewarding ourselves upon completing a task or reaching a milestone is left to chance. This way, the feeling of reward does not diminish over time and consistently fuels motivation. In conclusion, Dr. Huberman provides a comprehensive set of scientifically backed strategies that are grounded in our understanding of neural circuitry and brain chemistry, techniques that can help optimize our focus, motivation, and ultimately productivity. Dr. Andrew Huberman's discussion continues around the themes of maintaining motivation and increasing productivity. Practice random intermittent reinforcement and the concept of self-rewarding in a random pattern to sustain motivation. High levels of focus can lead to a significant release of dopamine that can aid in learning and accomplishing tasks. One key strategy Dr. Huberman emphasizes is the practice of chunking. This principle suggests that dividing tasks or learning bouts into smaller, more manageable sections can help sustain motivation, particularly during the middle problem where motivation tends to dip. Dr. Huberman suggests that acknowledging the middle problem and working through it in smaller chunks can minimize its impact. Understanding and utilizing our natural rhythms of focus throughout the day can also lead to enhanced productivity. 3 peak times for focus and attention generally occur 30 minutes, 3 hours, and 11 hours after waking. However, he asserts that this shouldn't become a rigid rule, recognizing that the demands of life often dictate our schedules. On the topic of goal setting, Dr. Huberman encourages us to define goals, quantify the actions required, and engage in those actions. He highlights that not only does it lead to skill acquisition, but also the neural circuits associated with self-generated motivation and focus become more robust. This aids in pursuing further goals more effectively. Stress factors, personal lives, health conditions, sleep quality, and other factors can significantly influence our motivation and ability to focus. He suggests we should strive to optimize our state of mind and body by ensuring adequate sleep, good nutrition, positive social interactions, and other aspects that constitute our lives' backdrop. Interestingly, Dr. Huberman introduces the concept of the so-called circadian rhythms in attention. Each person has naturally recurring periods across the day where their attention and motivation levels fluctuate. Realizing when these peak times occur allows a person to manage their tasks more effectively. Dr. Huberman's thorough science-backed approach to motivation, focus, and productivity delivers practical insights into how to approach goal setting and follow through effectively, from optimal timing and tactics to overcome motivation slumps to reinforcement strategies. His breakdown of these topics provides real, actionable advice to enhance personal motivation and goal attainment, or make learning new skills more effective. According to Dr. Huberman, the application of flexibility in goal pursuit is key to maintaining high levels of motivation. Dr. Huberman shared an anecdote of his personal experience when he tried to increase the duration of his running. Usually Dr. Huberman runs or hikes during the day, but on a day filled with other tasks, he found himself with the urge to run late in the night. Interestingly, he decided to give in to this urge and ended up running from 10 p.m. until 11:30 p.m. Despite his initial worry that running that late would disrupt his sleep, he found that it didn't affect his rest or energy and productivity level the following day. Dr. Huberman's experience emphasizes the importance of being open and flexible to adapting one's routine to achieve their goals. He highlights a critical scientific fact drawn from a Stanford colleague's research suggesting that our subjective feelings of energy and overall well-being during the day are not just influenced by the quality and duration of our sleep, but also by our perception of the previous day's performance and the day ahead. If we perceive the previous day positively and look forward to the activities planned for the next day, it influences our energy and positivity levels for the day. On the other hand, Dr. Huberman emphasizes that setting achievable goals and working towards them, even if it causes slight disruptions or deviations from our usual routines, can provide a sense of achievement. Such a feeling of accomplishment releases neurochemicals and hormones in our body, likely including dopamine, which could increase our overall sense of well-being. Dr. Huberman continues the discussion by emphasizing the importance of actual goal pursuit. Rather than getting hung up on perfect timing or the ideal conditions, he stresses the importance of making goals quantifiable and specific, then taking action towards achieving them. Finally, Dr. Huberman appreciates the listener's support for the Huberman Lab Podcast and invites them to check out the podcast's partner, Momentous Supplements. He also introduces the Neural Network newsletter, which offers summaries, protocols, and tools related to the podcast topics. Ending the segment, Dr. Huberman encourages his audience to engage in science-related discussions on various social media platforms. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of The Pod Slice.